All right, what is up, and welcome back to the Build a Better You podcast. I'm your host, Austin Chan, and today we are going to be talking about how to stay on track with your diet during the holidays. And so I'm going to be dropping this podcast right before Thanksgiving. I'm hoping to drop it on the 24th. If you are catching this right before the holidays, this is perfect timing for you. If you're catching this right after the holidays, even better, you can keep listening to this. I'm still going to have more tips on how to get right back on track afterwards. I'd say the holidays are definitely one of the times where people struggle the most in terms of trying to stay on track with their diet and nutrition. People feel like, it's the end of the world. They feel like, oh man, I messed up during the holidays. I ate so much. And so usually the reason why this happens is because people use it as an excuse to keep fucking up, and they use it as an excuse to not get back on track and not, get right back at it, get right after their fitness goals. And yeah, this is basically a podcast to help you develop a better mindset in terms of trying to, get you to, not go off the rails on during the holidays, or even just like having a better mindset of allowing yourself to go off the rails during the holidays, and knowing that you can always get right back on track afterwards. I'm kind of spoiling the discussion of this podcast a little bit right now just by the intro. But without further ado, we'll get into the podcast. Right before we do, though, I do want to say that Legion is just started their Black Friday sale this past Monday. So discounts on a ton of stuff. I think it's up to 40% on certain items. So go ahead and check that out. Use the link in the show notes to get the link to Legion Athletics, the supplement company that I'm sponsored by. And then be sure to use my code to support me. I don't think you'll get any additional discounts from that just because they're having such a huge markdown on the sale already. But if you do use the code, I believe you can still get double loyalty points, and also it supports me. So go ahead and use that link below, and don't forget to use my discount code AC, or just support code in this case. But just use my code AC, support me, get double rewards points. But without further ado, we'll head into the topic of this podcast. All right, how to stay on track during the holidays. And this is kind of an oxymoron in a sense. If you aren't familiar with that term, oxymoron basically means that it's a phrase or a saying where it's kind of contradictory in a sense. So how to stay on track, honestly, this, I don't think this podcast is going to be very long, just because there's not any specific things to really dive into and talk about, just a couple of things that I do want to cover. But basically how to stay on track is just by not staying on track. And I know I'm sounding like some ancient Chinese proverb that I'm trying to say here, but how to stay on track. You don't actually stay on track during the holidays. If you really think about it, the holidays are just one time a year. You just have Thanksgiving, you just have Christmas, you just have Halloween. Personally, I don't like Halloween all that much, so I don't really treat it as a holiday, but I do love Thanksgiving and Christmas. So if you think about it, those days are really just one day where you you have more than you typically drink, you have more than you typically eat, and it's just really, one day. And then, Christmas and Thanksgiving this year, they're about a month apart. So, and really any other year, they're about a month apart, but you get what I'm trying to say. So they're about a month apart, and they're really just one day out of November and December. And if you really think about it, those are 2 days out of the other 365 days. So it's not that big of a deal in terms of your fitness journey, which is, ideally the rest of your life that you're going to want to take care of your health and improve your health. So letting the power of 1 or 2 days, depending on how much you celebrate, just letting that kind of dictate how the rest of your fitness journey is going to go. That's kind of neurotic and very disappointing in a sense, because you shouldn't be letting 2 days dictate the rest of your fitness journey, which is the rest of your life, right? It's that's just this is a bit of a tough, I say this with a bit of tough love. It's kind of fucking stupid to let those 2 days be man, you know what? I messed up on Thanksgiving. I messed up on Christmas. So, I'm just going to give up for the rest of the week, month, and year. And you're just letting that as an excuse to go off track and not do shit about it. So it's fucking stupid. So don't let 2 days dictate like the rest of your fitness journey. Just literally like be like, okay, I'm going to enjoy myself today. I'm going to get right back on track the day afterwards, because it's literally not that big of a deal. It's literally just 1 day. Like you wouldn't say, I'm trying to think of a good example here. Like you wouldn't say like, oh, I had a bad car accident today, so the rest of the fucking year I'm just not even going to drive, or I'm just not even going to like try and better my life anymore. I'm just going to say fuck it, and I'm just going to give up on the rest of my life. It's like, no, that's stupid. You wouldn't throw away your car or try like not driving again just because of like one car accident or one bad day on the road. Like you would literally just like the next day you're like, okay, I'm gonna get over this. I'm gonna find ways to fix this. I'm going to move on. You wouldn't like let that dictate the rest of your life or the rest of your career or whatever. So don't do the same thing with diet. Like literally just get right back on track the next day. And yeah, don't literally do not make a big deal out of it. I don't know how many times I need to say this, but yeah, just don't make a big deal out of it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Because of that, like a lot of people use it as excuse of just going off track for 1 day, and then they'll be like, okay, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna go on a week-long binge. I'm just gonna give up for the rest of the holidays. I ate so much, and I just gotta keep eating so much. And it's like, no, you don't have to do that. So yeah, just get right back on track. Now with that being said, I do have a few tips on how you can kind of like still stay on track with your goals in a sense. But yeah, the first and foremost thing is just literally getting right back on track. Like the next day people are like, how do I get back on track? It's like, just go back onto your regular diet. Just eat the same foods. You might have a bit of leftovers, incorporate those leftovers into your calories. Like you don't have to be eating, half a turkey and like a pound of mashed potatoes every single day after that for like the next few weeks. But you can also like have like a decent serving and still enjoy the Thanksgiving leftovers or Christmas leftovers or what have you, without like blowing your calories out of the water. Like, yeah, with that being said, like doesn't mean that giving yourself grace doesn't mean that you should be like, okay, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna eat like thousands and thousands of calories for the next few weeks. It's saying that I'm okay with going off track for 1, 2, 3 days, or even a few days, but like always knowing that you have the power to get back on track. Like don't use it as an excuse to be like, okay, I'm just not going to focus on my goals at all, but also like realizing that you don't have to completely restrict yourself. Like do not have this all or nothing mentality. And that's ultimately, I think what it goes back to is just having this all or nothing mentality where you think I either have to be 100% on track with my diet, or I have to be 0% on track with it, when really that's not the case. And I don't think that ever should be the case for anyone. Like even for someone who's not dieting, you wouldn't like a friend who's like pretty well in shape, like they don't really feel like you don't really feel like they're following any specific diets or anything. Like they give themselves room. You don't always see them like, they're not always having a bunch of pizza or having a bunch of like high calorie junk food. They're having that in moderation. They're also eating healthy most of the time. They are also like managing their calories pretty well. Like they don't like overeat to the point of stuffing themselves constantly. Like, they might do that once or twice like a week, or even, a month, or just they do it sparingly. They do it within control, but they don't let that like go off the rails, and they don't do it like every single day, because really not every single day has to be like a gourmet meal where everything tastes 10 out of 10. Like it's about realizing that, moderation is key. Like having some restriction in place is good. Like for example, an example I can think of about this is like rules. You don't want this world to be completely lawless with zero regulation and zero, like restraint on people. Otherwise people can go around doing whatever they want. They can like loot and steal and and murder and do all these like crazy things. Like if people like didn't have laws to keep them in check. Like, not everyone can be trusted to hold up to these moral standards. Yeah. But also on the other hand, like, you don't want to like lock everyone down and be completely restrictive, like have no freedoms or anything. Like, you want this kind of like moderate amount of restriction. And this also goes back to dieting. You don't want to go completely off the rails all of the time, but you also don't want to be so restrictive that you never have the room to be flexible, the room to enjoy your life, to eat like literally whatever you want during those like limited times. It's about doing the things you need to do that's in your best interest for your health most of the time. And this is what I want to get back to, that you have to do, like, everything is good in moderation. I don't think there is anything that is necessarily unhealthy or bad for you. It's just like moderate. And one of the things that I've heard, it's like, especially like in the world of like pharmacology and medicine, is that the dose makes the poison. And this is the same exact case. The dose of, like high fatty foods, or like, quote, like your unhealthy foods, things you don't like typically find in like the produce section. Like, if you eat too much of that stuff, it is unhealthy. And also, on that same point, if you eat too much of, quote, healthy foods all of the time, it is also considered unhealthy, because you're not giving yourself that flexibility. I mean, maybe like 1 in 1,000 or 1 in like 10,000 people are able to follow this completely strict diet with like no room. Like, they're just like fine. They're just like, yeah, I'm fine having like salads and chicken breasts and like healthy foods every single day. But for most of us out here, we want that flexibility. We want to enjoy ourselves on these, higher calorie foods, these sweets, these things that are not necessarily deemed by the typical society as healthy. So yeah, it's about giving ourselves that flexibility to do that, because honestly, most of us are not these robots where, we can do the same things every single day. We need to have room for enjoyment. We need to have room for flexibility. And this is fine. Like, not all of us are going to be able to follow this super restrictive diet. And in fact, this actually brings to mind that if you know who Jonathan Goodman is, he's a respected personal trainer, mentor, and also a personal trainer himself. And one of the things I saw on his Instagram the other day is that, most of us fitness professionals, myself included, obviously, in this, most of us fitness professionals, we aren't people who are, well, most of us at least, like, I know myself is included in this, but yeah, most of us aren't necessarily these robots who like, love fitness all the time and love eating healthy all the time, and that's like all we do and all we think about. Most of us are literally normal people, like you, like your friend, like everyone else. Like, we just happen to be people who are able to do this thing consistently and have found ways to integrate fitness and nutrition and health into our lives on a consistent basis, which allows us to, be kind of like on this like pedestal, in a sense that like we seem like healthier, or, a little bit more healthier or above average than the average person, like on the street talking about their health. Like, that's like literally the only thing that separates us. Like, we just have this like ability to do that. And it's not necessarily like, and even then, it's like, I'm not trying to say this in a condescending sense. Like, this ability is not like something special or something that you are only born with. This is something that you can literally put into practice like today. Like, all you need to do is just start and develop ways to stay consistent with your fitness, with your nutrition, however much you can, no matter what your schedule looks like, no matter what your circumstances look like. You just need to start and take that first step, because yeah, like, it's nothing like inaccessible. Like, you don't have to do right off the bat, work out 6-7 days a week. And even then, I don't recommend that. As I've said constantly in my content, like, you don't need to be doing that. You don't need to be on the super restrictive diet of eating, salads and chicken breasts all day, every day. Like, you can literally, as long as you are being consistent most of the time, you will get pretty far with your goals. Like, as long as you stick to the basics. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, I won't go too much into this, because I've constantly said this before in my previous episodes and also my blog and like all my other content. But yeah, as long as you practice these basics, being consistent like enough, you're going to see things kind of start to roll towards the right direction. But yeah, it's about staying consistent most of the time, and so there's most of the time, and then there's that, that little bit of the time. This is where you have that room to enjoy the holidays, or enjoy a weekend once in a while with some friends and family, and not think about fitness, not think about nutrition. It's about giving yourself that little bit of room to do these things, and also give yourself that flexibility so that you don't have to feel like fitness and nutrition runs your entire life. And so that's pretty much it. In terms of like an approach, here's like an approach that has worked well for some of my clients that I've worked with. It's called the 4 on 2 off approach, and this works exceptionally well for some people who find that they can like switch on and switch off, especially during dieting, during training. So 4 on 2 off basically represents 4 on for 4 weeks on, and then 2 for 2 weeks off. So basically, you're gonna go 4 weeks on, and this on portion is you're gonna go into a pretty aggressive kind of deficit phase. So a good goal to shoot for would be anywhere from body weight times 10 to body weight times 11 in terms of calories, and this is going to be a steeper calorie deficit than normal. Like, this is going to be a pretty aggressive deficit for most people. They might find it a little bit like really restrictive. But with that being said, it's only for 4 weeks. And I know for a lot of people, 30-day challenges or sticking to something for 1 month is very doable for most people. And this is, where fucking stupid fad diets come in. Like, people do these 30-day challenges all the time, following these stupid diets. But with that being said, this is actually this isn't like a stupid fad diet that, you're following and it doesn't teach you anything, but rather this dieting phase is just a very aggressive calorie deficit in a sense. And again, this is just calories. You're not restricting any specific food groups. You're not you're not staying away from carbs. You're not staying away from anything else. You're not restricted to only eating at a certain amount of time. This is literally a calorie deficit, and you can fit anything within your calorie deficit as long as you can stay consistent to it. That's the point I want to drive home. So sticking this and it's only 4 weeks. You're being in a pretty aggressive state, and then you're also having that built-in flexibility, because as long as you stay consistent with those 4 weeks, you can take 2 weeks off at maintenance. I want to drive home that it's at maintenance. So however amount of calories it takes to maintain your current body weight, you're going to increase calories to that amount. So this in terms gives you a lot of physiological and psychological de-stress in a sense, because you get to eat more, you have more flexibility, you can have more food, you can have more different types of foods because you're increasing your calories. And this works exceptionally well, especially if you're someone who dials in, if you find, and I think most people can do this, honestly. Like, you can do something for 30 days, and then 2 weeks you take a nice break, and this is planned. And this is not just something I pulled out of my ass and I'm saying follow this 30-day plan. This is something that is structured and pretty much has a plan for maintenance and has a plan for flexibility, because you're being on point, you're staying on track for these 4 weeks, and then you're taking these 2 weeks off in order to enjoy yourself, to eat more, and it has built-in flexibility so that you don't lose a bunch of weight, stay on track for a month, and then you don't have anything else for the rest of the time. It's you can be aggressive and stay on track, and you also have some room to increase calories and enjoy yourself. And of course, this is within restraint as well. You're not just for most 30-day challenges and most 30-day quick fix diet plans are 30 days on, and then you lose a bunch of weight, and then what happens after that? It doesn't teach you anything. It's like some stupid juice cleanse or some stupid cutting carbs diet, and then after those 30 days you don't really learn anything. You just learn, I need to cut carbs, and then after that all you do is you just go back to your normal diet, and then of course your normal diet is nothing like that diet, so you just gain all of the weight back. Whereas with this approach, you might lose a significant amount of weight with those 4 weeks on, but you're also learning the process of developing a sustainable calorie deficit, incorporating high volume foods, high fiber foods, high protein foods in order to help keep you full. And then after that, you are essentially still working with calories, but you're just getting to eat more. So you have kind of developed this already flexible plan in place of being in a sustainable calorie deficit, but you're just eating more. So obviously with more calories to work with now, you're able to develop an even more sustainable plan because you're basically eating the same foods but in more quantities, which is good. Like it's nothing like all that different. You're still practicing those same habits. You're still incorporating the same foods. Like nothing has really changed in terms of like how the plan works. Like you're not all of a sudden going back to like your normal diet. You're still doing the same thing, just more so with more food. And I find that this works exceptionally well because the holidays, when you meet up with friends, families, for those of you who do travel a lot, like this works exceptionally well because you usually travel for anywhere from like 1 to 2 weeks. So this works out like perfectly, and especially since you're eating at maintenance, yes, you're gonna put on a little bit of weight, but that weight is not going to be fat. It's primarily going to be water, muscle glycogen, all that stuff, because that just comes with eating more food. So don't freak out about the weight gain. Just eat, just as long as you're not gaining like 20 plus pounds, or like you're not consistently putting on like a ton of weight every week. Like you might gain an extra 5 to 10 pounds, and that's okay, and you're not going to lose all your progress. And even then, like let's say you do gain more than that, again, it's all about thinking that I can get back on track after the holidays are over. I'm not going to use this as an excuse to keep fucking up, to keep going off the rails and just eat whatever the hell I want. It's about having enough restraint to tell yourself, okay, that's it. I enjoyed myself. I had a good time. I had a lot of good food. I ate more than usual, but I can always dial things back in and get closer to where I ultimately want to go, of improving my health, of improving my fitness. So yeah, taking those 2 weeks off, and then 4 weeks, it's like you can do anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks, honestly. But yeah, 3 to 4 weeks is often like a good kind of like sticking point to start seeing results in a calorie deficit, because I think 2 weeks is kind of too short. 3 weeks is like decent. You'll see a little bit of change, but you probably won't see too much just because of the calorie deficit. Like I said, it takes time, it takes consistency. But yeah, 4 weeks is kind of that sweet spot of where you start to see like a good amount of progress, if that makes sense. So yeah, try that out if you are someone who feels like you can like kind of cycle and dial things in for 4 weeks, or 3 to 4 weeks. Because yeah, the timing between Thanksgiving and Christmas is about 4 weeks. So yeah, if you travel, let's say like the week before Christmas, you can do it for 3 weeks, gives you that 2 week buffer of eating at maintenance, and then you can dial things back in just in time for the New Year's, getting a head start of that. But yeah, that about covers it. I know I covered a lot in this podcast, so please reach out if you do have any questions. I do have my email down in the show notes, and yeah, that about covers everything I did want to cover. So yeah, again, Legion is having their Black Friday sale this entire week, actually. So yeah, things are up to like 40% off. Go ahead and check that out. Use the link in the show notes. Also, be sure to use my code to support me. Again, I don't think you do get any extra discounts just because the discounts are so like steep and good already. So you will earn double loyalty points still, and use my code supports me. So yeah. But yeah, that about covers everything I wanted to cover. So thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you in the next one.